Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out probatemastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit probatemastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. Welcome to our Probate Mastery Real Estate Coaching Call. I'm Bill Gross. I'm a real estate broker based in California, and I run a national team, but the purpose of this call is to help you specifically integrate the Probate Mastery content and training and classes and such into building your real estate business. And while the Probate Mastery program does work for investors as well and other businesses, this call's focused really on helping real estate agents, real estate brokers build their real estate sales business. We're going to focus on that. Just a quick preview of where we came from. This is probatemastery.com is the coaching program. It was launched by Chad Corbett and now is run by his protege, Bruce Hill. And there's different tracks. There's the basic tracks. You're welcome to join in there. If you want to get certified in probate real estate, then there's a track there. And then there's additional courses and bundles. Love to have you guys explore that and find the right resources for you to help you with your business. One of the classes is Earn Attorney Referrals Now. That's a separate program that helps you specifically in that area as well. You can continue the conversation after we're done today on Facebook at the Estate Professionals Mastermind Facebook group. That's free to join. We have over 7,000 members. Feel free to put their requests for referrals for real estate agents, attorneys, questions, probate-related content. Separate from all that, personally, I host this little self-promotion, probateweekly.com, which is every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's live streamed and recorded. Love to have you join in the live YouTube on that if you want to, probateweekly.com. And then I have a Facebook group, Probate Weekly. You can continue the conversation there and post your probate-related content as well. And then if you want to know about me, my link tree, linktr.ee/Bill Gross, has all the programs I'm personally running, involved with, different things I do. If you want to learn more or reach out to me afterwards. Certainly if you have questions that are more personal nature, I'm glad to always take phone calls or set appointments to help you guys as well afterwards if you're on this call. And then lastly, one of the foundations for me as a real estate business person is email. And so if you go to my link tree, you'll see a link for a real estate email masterclass. And that's actually going to be tomorrow, the 15th of November. It's $97. You want to join that, love to have you join in. It's a 1-hour program on building the fundamentals of your email database program, and then 4 follow-up half-hour coaching sessions in a small group. And this is the second time I've run it. Had great success last time. Love to have you join if you're interested. So again, probatemastery.com is where we come from. And this is meant to be participative. Now, if I had the best content, I guess I would just record it and play it. But the reality is, the reason why I participate in this, when I went through this, I was building my business. I needed camaraderie. I needed referrals. I needed best practices to copy and learn from. And so I used to come on a call that Chad and others used to go on related to another company. And then when Chad launched this company, I would come on here as well and participate. And the value of it is when you participate. And so I would say that if you have a question of mine, know that other people have the same question. Love to have you do that as well. Raise your hand, put in the chat box, and let's make this as participative as possible. Since I don't have any hands up or any questions pending, just a real quick kind of message of the day if I get in my soapbox. I'm self-employed. I'm not an employee. What does that mean? It means that I didn't take this business to work certain hours and have the man, or I guess these days, or the woman, tell me when I should work or shouldn't work. I built a business, and the goal was to create freedom for myself so I could choose to build the career I wanted to, work when I wanted to, take time off when I wanted to. And so today I work about 40 hours a week, maybe at most, really, maybe 36 if we're going to be honest about it. Taking off next week for vacation. I'm going to South Florida to Surfside, North Miami Beach area with my family. One of my dreams was to take my family on a luxury vacation. And while my dream at the time was a cruise, my wife and daughter vetoed that. We're taking our grandkids to a hotel resort, but it's a high-end resort. We're looking forward to that. And I'm not saying to brag, but to say what's possible. 5 years ago, I left coaching, management, and recruiting and relaunched into sales with no business at all and did not have enough money to spend to do what we're going to be doing. But I had that goal to be able to do that. And I built a business using these principles. I took probate mastery. I followed up with it by spending about a week to write out my business plan and implemented it. And I've been doing that ever since and had great success as a result. And so what I want to leave you guys with is two thoughts. Number one, you need to have a plan. Otherwise, you're just showing up to work when your boss tells you to. And if your boss is you, you probably aren't going to fire yourself. You're probably not going to be happy with your results either. So you want to create a business where you're an employee in your own business, and that way you push yourself to do what you're supposed to do. So this is a good time of the year. If things are slowing for you a little bit, which they tend to be, I find that I can spend less time with people and get more done, and then focus on more productive activities like planning out my business and launching new programs and new projects. So I'd urge you to block out time this time of year, not when you're supposed to be with your family and off work, but when you're supposed to be working, to review your business plan, put it into place, consider new projects, consider new efforts. It will take some time, and put that thinking time in now when you're able to. And I would say work when you're supposed to work, and then don't work when you're not supposed to work. And that's the key. Don't feel guilty that you're working when you're not supposed to, whatever that means to you. No judgment. And then don't feel guilty when you're not working when you're supposed to work. And so some of the things you can do if the business slows down a bit, there's 30% less transactions now than a year ago. Seasonally, a lot of people check out. But I'll tell you, I still have time to have longer conversations with customers, longer conversations with attorneys. I had a nice one yesterday with one attorney. And so this is the time of year for those kinds of conversations. Or if you're so inclined to go out to people's offices, or if you're so inclined to go to parties where you're going to meet people. But pick your time spent based on your business for the business time. Pick your time spent for your personal time on your personal time. Don't mix the two, meaning don't go to parties that are business related and think you're working, because if that's not what's the best use of your time, you shouldn't be going, and vice versa. So again, think that through yourself. Feel free to ask questions, but I really want to encourage all of us to be productive as we can be, so we have the freedom to enjoy the things that we want to do this time of year. Hope that was clear. I don't see any questions on that. Anybody disagree with that? You want to come on and debate it with me? Feel free. I'll bring you in. Anybody? Bueller? No? Okay. Any other topics, questions you guys want to talk about?
I do.
Okay. Who's
Hi.
that?
It's my first time here, Peggy Rose. Hi.
Hey, Peggy Rose. What's going on?
Hi. Is this probate? I just want to make sure, is this probate only? Because I do NODs. So I didn't know if this was a kind of a mutual benefit.
Sure. So this program is Probate Mastery, and this call today is designed specifically for probate, trust-related probate, real estate agent business. So to the extent it overlaps, I mean, literally today I have a lead. One of my team members has a investor want to bid on a property that's a probate confirmation sale, micro niche, where the property is facing foreclosure, micro niche with a micro niche on it. So in probate, we do, it is more common for us to come across distressed properties. I'm glad to talk about it generally. I couldn't spend a lot of time on it, but what's your question? Let's see if I can help you.
No, I didn't want to, infiltrate where it wasn't appropriate. I just wanted to check because I was listening to Chad do an NOD call the other day. That's what brought me here, which it was amazing. So I just didn't know if this would touch on that. So that's okay.
We'll touch on it a bit. And if you have any questions on that, I feel pretty comfortable talking about. I deal with NODs all the time. But again, this whole call is really designed to be helping agents in the probate space. To the extent it overlaps with NODs,
I respect that. So I'll allow all of that. I'll just go back, do what I was doing, making my calls.
I'll send you back to your room. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Welcome and come back anytime. Richard De La Cruz, I see your hand up. Let's bring you in and see what's on your mind.
What's up, Bill?
What's up, Richard?
I gotta hire you.
If you're ever a boxer, man, I want to be the guy who calls you out. When you do your walkout. I don't know what your walkout song would be, but I know the announcer would be. Where are you from, Richard?
What do you mean, like my background?
No, where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up here in Queens.
Queens.
From the,
And about how
I,
much do you weigh?
I weigh 210.
There you go. From Queens, New York, weighing 210 pounds, rock solid fighting from the blue corner, Richard De La Cruz. Yeah, great name for boxer. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, Bill. So I'm noticing people that I know or just people that I run into that they have a property that is under their parents' name and their mom's name, and their mom is deceased. So I know
Beautiful.
there's two, right. I go in with the preface that there will be an advantage if you were to clear that up, file probate. I just want to be clear, is that maybe there's more advantages. I know, more incentives. I know that they can save on taxes, right? As far as because if the name is under the mom's name, they can't file any sort of tax credit or anything like that because the mom is deceased. They can't. Can you correct me on that? Can you?
Well, a couple of things. First, I'll say I don't know New York law in detail. I can do California law. First disclaimer. Second, I'm sure there are people who fill out tax forms in the name of somebody who's deceased. We know we had like 16,000 people vote in Wisconsin who were dead. So I'm sure people fill out tax credit forms for their deceased parents to get the tax credit, and that might be illegal, but we know that goes on. So I would just acknowledge, be careful when you talk to them. That's might be what they're doing, and you don't want to look like you're unaware of that possibility. But I will say that oftentimes people come to me in that scenario when they have to sell or they have to refinance. Because if the property is the name of their mom, they can't refinance the property without, most commonly, going through some sort of a probate or probate-like process. And so it depends on the dollar amount of the property and the equity and the state that you're in. I'm pretty sure in New York, in most cases, if you own a house and you want to refinance, you can't get the loan in the name of your deceased mother. You'd have to get it in your name. Now, doing that, sometimes, again, I know California law, I don't know New York law. California law, mother to son, there's no reassessment of the property tax. I think in New York, you are going to get reassessed on the change of ownership, but I don't know the law that well. As far as tax consequences, in federally, there's no tax consequence unless the state's over whatever it is, $12 million or something. One house typically won't trigger that, but you might have state law. And so again, you need to know the local state law. Richard, I think this is one of the things people ask me a lot about is how do I develop relations with attorneys? To me, this is a great opportunity for you to call somebody and say, I'm learning in this field. Richard, are you a real estate agent or are you an investor?
A realtor.
I'm a realtor to space. I'm doing more and more probate work. I get these questions. Can I take you to lunch and just ask you some questions about this work and find a estate planning attorney that theoretically, if you meet some people, you can take that prospect to that attorney to help solve these kinds of problems or prevent these. So to me, these are great questions that you need to know the real answer in New York. And I think have a video or a link to a page that you can send your prospect, because you can't tell them the law, that's practicing law, but you can link to the law and say, hey, I took out attorney Joe Smith or Mary Beth, and this is what they told me, and you link to it, and now you have their answers to those questions. So great questions. And I'd love you to come back and circle back and tell us the answers. But
Wow.
I think that this is a great excuse to call an attorney, a state planning attorney, offer to take them to coffee. Can I, now some may say, I want to charge you my consulting fee. Some may say, wow, you're a realtor, maybe introduce me to other agents. Richard, what company are you with?
The same company you're in.
Great. So the beauty for you is you have the chance to introduce that attorney to EXP agents, all around New York or as well as all around the country. And so I don't know, are you doing any video for your social media?
Yeah, Instagram.
So you might consider doing video longer form interviews of attorneys like this. Or if you want to step it up, I would love to interview a New York attorney for my YouTube channel and maybe put them on Probate Weekly. So again, just a good excuse to say, hey, we'd love to interview you and share your answers with our how many realtors we have in New York at EXP? A couple thousand, I would think.
Yeah.
I'd love to share your answers with 2,000 of my colleagues at EXP Realty. Would you be open to doing a short video interview, and we could share your information and promote you to our group? Most attorneys are going to say yes to that. Some won't, but most will.
I have a relationship with one attorney. It just so happens that I brought him a few probate cases, and then I brought him a cousin of mine that wanted to draft a will. She basically, I try to push her or influence her to do a living trust, but she said no, a will is good enough. So the point is, so I took her there. He, we sat down. I took her. We sat down with him, but he took down all the information in reference to her heirs, and then next thing you know, he sends her a draft of the will, and then he misspelled a few of the names. He misspelled her name, and she got like really upset, and that was not a good look for him. What would you say to an attorney like that makes him mistake so kind of like, I mean, I didn't even know. What would you say to this attorney now that you brought that up?
So that's a delicate topic because, if you've got a group of women together who are married to talk about how you get along with your husbands, they're going to tell you that men's egos are fragile. And I would say as real estate agents, if you get us together, those of us who work with attorneys regularly will tell you their egos are really fragile. And in general, if I had to summarize most, not all, but most attorneys, their common trait is they think they know a lot more than they actually do. That's why so many more politicians, because the politicians will tell you how they're going to create world peace and solve world hunger, and they haven't had a job other than being a politician. Those are attorneys. And so you have to be very careful and make those assessments. Generally, I'm not going to correct them unless they ask for help. I think just in general in life, nobody really wants to hear your criticism. And if somebody does, nobody wants to be coached up. You're closer to my age. In general, the younger people are, even the less so they want to be coached up. We see this in sports. I was listening to somebody talk yesterday about a former quarterback of the Rams who was traded. And after he was traded, he went to the head coach and asked for a sit down to say, can you tell me why, you lost faith in me, what I did wrong, what I need to work on? And they're amazed that he did that. This is one of the top 5 or 10 professional quarterbacks in the world. And they're amazed that he would ask for that feedback. Certainly your average attorney does want to hear it, right? So the hard part is, the question I would ask you is, assuming that all attorneys are imperfect and they all have mistakes, are these mistakes that you can live with and create value to the attorney as your value add, or are they such that you wouldn't want to work with them? So, for example, is there some other value they bring to the table? Are they less expensive? Are they otherwise nicer people? Are they otherwise smarter? They have some other advantage that you want to work with them? And if the answer is no, then I would change. But if the answer is yeah, if this is just one issue, then I would say to the customer, because it's true, every attorney is going to make some typos. They're all going to make some mistakes. And the key to any relationship is not whether or not are you married, Richard?
Yes.
Okay. So the key, you're still married. So the answer is not that you're perfect. I don't know you that well. I know that's not you're perfect. It's that your wife has decided to accept your imperfections as being worth the relationship in the long run, right? Same with my wife. I'm not the shocks anybody here on the call. You all should sit down. I'm not the perfect husband. I don't know if that surprises anybody. But I believe I create a value for my wife that otherwise she hasn't, until today at least, kicked me out. And my anniversary is in 2 days for 37 years. So I made it so far to stay off her radar. That's all relationships. And so I think that my experience is 90% of customers love their attorney when they sign up with them. And 90 days later, 90% of the customers hate their attorney. And so when customers complain to me about these kinds of things, I just say, to be honest, that's just par for the course. And the reason why I selected you to work with Betty Boop is because they at least allow me to kind of play third base coach and watch your paperwork and help you through the problems that happen. That's why I'm glad to help you. That's the value I bring to you as your real estate agent. So you have to make the assessment. I can't really speak to, is it at a level that you should not work with them at all? But I would encourage you to think through the possibility that everybody makes mistakes, because if customers are looking for an attorney who's going to make them happy, they're probably never going to find one. I'll give you another example. The escrow company I use, in New York, you guys use what you call real estate attorneys. In California, we call it escrow, where the law took a certain piece of attorney's law, and we call that piece alone escrow work, as opposed to needing an attorney to do it. And same with attorneys. Most customers are not happy with the service they get. I found one that doesn't charge anything to the seller, only to the buyer side. So I say to my customer up front, you're not going to like them. They're kind of slightly above average, which isn't very satisfying, but they're free. So at least I can help you with that. And so I would say, as attorneys in general, I usually look for a couple discount options, so I can say, you're not going to be happy with it. You're not going to be happy with the process or the service. That's the nature of the beast. But at least you're saving $5,000 or $10,000.
Okay. No, I think it's worth continuing working with him. I never mentioned to him what she said. She didn't want to go back to him, which is interesting. So one thing that I like about him, he was willing to carry the invoice, as far as not getting paid until the end. So he was willing to do something like that. So that's what I like about him. I thought that was a plus.
For probate or for an estate plan with a will?
For a probate.
So I would say to you that any attorney in this business regularly is willing to do that. Any attorney who's not probably isn't in this business regularly. And if you can't find one, reach out to me. There's a service I use. I'll give you guys the name of the company, Scrivener. I've interviewed him on my website. It's scrivnr.com. Scrivener is a old term for somebody who would write out documents. It's the same word without the E. So Scrivener. And they'll get your customer discounted legal fees. They'll put the money up front, not even for the attorney's deposit, but even the filing fees and the publication fees, anything the estate administrator has to pay for. Even in some cases, they'll advance the money to avoid foreclosure on a mortgage. They'll pay off the delinquent amount plus maybe 3 months prepayments ahead. So that's a service. So again, not to say you should not work with that attorney. The fact he's willing to carry his fees to the end is a good sign, not a bad sign. But again, if another attorney gets you in trouble with that, don't let that be an issue for your customer.
Okay. All right. Great. Wonderful. I'm glad I brought that up. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Nice chatting with you. Come back anytime. Also have Probate Weekly as a group in EXP Workplace. So love to see you. No. Sabrina, I put it in the chat box. Put it in again. You have it incorrect. I'm sorry. It's with a V, not a B. And there's no, it's NER, SCRIVNR.com. Okay, good. Other questions, comments? Who else is engaged in the business and has some something to add? Dave Pinnell, what are you up to, man?
Oh,
Caught you.
yeah, I'm listening. See. Oh, I'm on. A few things, man. Business is slower, but we've got 6 or 7 probate deals under contract right now for wholesaling them. I bought a piece of land through probate estate. We're building one house. I'm waiting for my permits to be approved. And we have another house under construction. So we're building 2 houses right now. And
I'll keep you busy.
trying to be busy. Yeah.
Well, good. I think that I will say that I'm closing stuff. I'm straining to get more listings.
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I took 1 or 2 in October. I don't yet have one. Do I have one in November? Is that one in November or not? Let me think. I think I have one in November, but it's tough. I think that agents are more some of the part-time people have been chased out. I think people holding on to business and working harder, taking deals they maybe shouldn't take.
Yeah, we go active on one that we did a little bit more work on cleaning it out for the person because they're out of state, and that actually goes active on Thursday.
Yeah,
but they did a 7% commission though, so I'm not talking commissions, but we charge a little more for the time it takes to help the family do everything.
nice.
So
And I will say, I think that business right now is harder to get by maybe 50% more work, but it's more valuable in that everything's selling, everything I have is sold, everything's multiple offers. Even as long as they price it at the same price as the last house, it all sells. With multiple offers. The vendors are less busy. They have more time to do their job. The lenders, the escrow, the title and such, insurance. 6 months ago, a year ago, it was hard to get anybody to do anything. Now they're all calling me for business. So
yeah,
I think in some regards, this is the time to bear down. Just move your attention. Don't get caught up in, I don't have to work on my listing by going to put up a lockbox or hold up a house, whatever all that stuff is, what I call the operations that you should be delegating. Focus on the lead generation stuff, because the leads you get now are worth more than any other business you're gonna get all the time.
Yeah, it's critical you stay inside that window of opportunity. You got to do it first thing in the morning, even if you don't like calling the probate. That's you've got to start somewhere, and then once you build that skill up, you're gonna transition into more letters, and then you'll learn that through calling the people, you're gonna find those clients that really need your help. You may have to go through 200 to get one of them. We always talk to somebody every day that we need to do something with, and then it's just constant. Yeah, you got to have that opportunity window. If you don't have any business, then you're not making any calls, either follow up or new calls for the probate if you're focused on probate.
Well,
but they're hidden within the for sale by owners too, so I'd buy that list as well.
yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying is true. You have to have a strategy, and you got to work at it consistently, intensely. And I would say probably whatever you're doing, you need to do more. My focus, I'm a little older than you. I'm trying to work less hours. I'm trying to phase myself out of production in the next couple of years. And but because I also want to build a business, I'm really focused on social media marketing and email marketing. So I need to email more often, email more people, be more effective with it.
I joined your class tomorrow. So
there's an example. I coach people up on this so much that I said, I rather than just go on and say the same things, I'll just push it all to a class. And I only charge really to make people come who are going to value it. And it does kind of weed out people who aren't interested. But I really believe that in all endeavors, two things I think are true right now. In every business is more difficult, is more challenging. The margins are tighter, the competition's better. In every business, accountants will say that, attorneys will say that, car sales people say that. And number two, the only solution is to be better at the fundamentals. Technology is great. I use it all the time, but you can't utilize technology if you don't have the fundamentals down. And so David hit real quick on having a schedule and doing lead generation regularly. And those are critical. When I'm coaching on tomorrow is on email. And I think that's a critical way to keep in touch with everybody and at least assess where you're in the marketplace. On Scrivener, just go back for a second. Richard, thank you for putting the information in the chat box. I'll put in there a link to an episode I did on my Probate Weekly call with the founder of Scrivener, Byron Botris, and he describes the program in detail there. And hopefully you'll find that helpful as well for those who are interested.
Yeah, and if you guys need help, I bought a book online, and I really like the quality of it. This is if you guys want to order it, or if someone watches this video later, it's Agent Planner. I actually went a few years without a plan. I got away from it because I got comfortable. I think nowadays you're gonna have to double down on your plan. I think I bought this for $39, and it walks you through all the steps to build your schedule out as an agent.
Nice.
Just look it up. They're on Facebook marketing like crazy. They have all kinds of things for agents, and they will spam you to death once you sign up. but it's Real Estate Agent Guide to Productivity, Agent Planner Pro, and it's from designed for agents. I just got it a week ago, but it's taken me through just what we talked about, Bill, all the different steps of what you want to do for 2024, and then it has a schedule in here, so you could actually per day schedule what you need to do, and you keep track of it. I've got away from this ever since I really got out of coaching, and I got a little bit more successful. But now I'm going back and doubling down on that.
I think that same like you, with your great skills and business and equity of your business you've built up, all this stuff, the systems, procedures, people the fundamentals, investing in yourself and the fundamentals is going to be your best investment. And so I think time management is critical, planning is critical. And so everybody here, I have a calendar every day of what I'm supposed to do. I think I remember when I first went to my first training class, Mike Ferry was the coach. And he described, in those days, they only had paper planners like David showed. And in those days I had one, a day timer, was just like that, was a full page notebook. And he described the standard real estate agent. He goes, what's on your schedule to do next week on Wednesday? And everybody opened the day timer. And for most people, it was blank because we would only fill out things as we had appointments. And they say, you're going to show up on next Wednesday, sit down at your desk, open your planner and say, another day in real estate, nothing to do. And what he taught was you need to block out your day, and there's certain activities you do certain times of the day, every day or every week. And they're in your calendar so that you have to show up and do what you're supposed to do. For me, there's certain activities I do. Now, my business, my lead generation today is interviewing other people. So I have time blocked on my calendar. I did it today for an hour to reach out to people to book for my podcast, to book for one-on-one interviews. I call attorneys and vendors and people who can refer me business. And that's what I do for my lead generation. But it's me picking up the phone and calling them, or me emailing them and then calling them, or it's me texting them or whatever. But I spend the appropriate time generating, and my goal right now is to book 2 appointments every workday. Because I know if I book 2, about one half will show up, and that's one half a day. And those numbers just work for me. I've learned my numbers, but I have to hit those numbers every day. So whatever your numbers are, you need to know what they are. And if you don't know them, spend time planning out your schedule now. While if business is slow for you, rather than sit around and don't go into webinars just because of the webinar. Go into a webinar because you're going to learn something you can put in your business right away. My email program, I'm going to show you how you can 16 times the number of people you contact. Don't do it for any reason unless you're going to follow through it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't make a living selling coaching. I make a living helping people build their business, usually my attorneys. I want you on that program. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. Either you're going to do the work or not. This is not entertainment. There are too many of us as realtors who go into webinars because they're entertaining and they're fun. And I like to make this fun. I really do. I've never met Richard, but it's kind of fun to play with him a little bit in the beginning, right? Why not have fun while you do your work? But you got to do your work. You got to do the work.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks for sharing that. Agent Planner Pro. Very nice.
Well, the people signing is called Designed for Agents. I just wanted to get it because I kept seeing it on Facebook, and I was like, I really need to just have it written down again. I got away from trying to be too digital, and I think I like to write it down every morning, like
Nice.
My to-do list. So, yeah, and I would say to that too, I think you got to explore more flexibility in your business these days too. Like we're going to go into, it's probably a terrible time, but we're going to start building houses on a regular. We'll probably build 12 next year.
Nice.
So that's going to be fun to learn. So we're going through the permit process now to figure out what the process is for the city. And then we'll hopefully make it easier. Right now it's taking us about 3 months to get anything approved. And that's a little.
You're in Fort
Fort
Worth.
Worth. They're ridiculous. Every time you submit something, they want something different. So it's taken about 3 months to get things. But once you learn their process and get to know the people, I think it's going to be easier.
Nice.
But we have 36 cities around us, so they all have different criteria. So wherever we buy dirt at, we're going to have issue.
Well, have fun with all that, David.
Yeah, it's like probate. You start with calling and sending letters, and then talking to attorneys, and then people start valuing your opinion.
Well, I think that's the key. And the knowledge is the power, and the knowledge is accumulative, and that's the real value. In the long run, the best asset to invest in is yourself. If you can learn skills and accumulate information, become valuable to people where they come to you. And really, most of my business, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to set each of you on the right path. The goal is that people call you with leads, to call you with, and what it sounds like, and this is the other part that's misleading, people call me all day with what they think are problems. I'm glad to have people, any of you with a problem, you can call me anytime you want. Because oftentimes your problem is a probate solution, and the problem that you can't solve, I can help you with sometimes. Most of the time not. And the truth is 90% of the problems that people call me with, I help them out. I don't get paid on them. That's okay, because I get paid enough on the 10% that I don't have to be greedy about it. And so I can be generous with my time. And I think that's the goal, that when you're productive, and you can also tell that people, when you're productive, they can be you can be generous of spirit and generous with your time. When you're not productive, you're really working for somebody else, then every minute you have to account for. That gets to be very debilitating, I think, for most people. So
Yeah, it's really nice when you really get into, I guess, where I'm at with these probate stuff. It's really fun to get the calls from people randomly because you've helped an investor out, or they can't figure out a situation, and then you end up getting a deal out of it.
Yeah.
I have a 4:00 appointment today that they just need help on it, and it's from another realtor, so it's great. So we'll probably end up buying it.
Well, and I think that's the other part, is that sometimes your knowledge gives you opportunity and other things. I got a nice email today with a great investment opportunity. I don't think it's for me, but I get 5 or 10 of those, and one is. And so that's because of what I do to help other people with problems. And the other thing, for all of you, I'd encourage you, there's nothing wrong with buying the list of data and cold calling it. I mean, that's how most of us started at some point in our business. But the goal should be to accumulate enough people that then, as a result of that, know you, like you, and trust you, that some start to call you. And at some point, so many call you that you can't make outbound calls. And that's why I do my social media. I don't have 3 or 4 hours a day to cold call. Because I'm on the phone with people with problems. And that's the point of the phone calls. There's a very famous story by my first coach was Zig Ziglar. And Zig tells a story. When he first was a door-to-door salesman, he really prided himself on how many doors he went to every day and how many sales he made. And one day he went to somebody's house, and they made him wait a little bit. So he started his presentation, and he was a little late to move on. He knew he had to hit so many doors in a day, and he was concerned. And so he kind of shortcutted the presentation and said, if you're interested, call me back, or I'll get back to you. And he ran out the door and went on his way to finish up his daily quota. And the next day he was like a couple blocks over, and a car stops, sees him, stops. Guy jumps out of a car and grabs him and says, hey, you came and made that presentation. You never came back for the order. We're ready to buy. And he had to laugh and said, I'm so busy hitting my quota of contacts that I was too busy to take the order. Don't be too busy to take the order. And so for those of you, and I came from the Mike Ferry system, which I think does create great fundamentals, teaches great fundamentals. And the idea of cold calling 3 or 4 hours a day is a great way to start. But the goal should be, at some point, over time, you keep accumulating more and more happy customers, more and more future leads, more and more contacts. And at some point, those people start calling you, or they know who you are, and your phone calls are more to past clients and past contacts than they are to strangers. And that way, you're not selling yourself all the time. You're then helping somebody else.
20 is plenty.
Can be. It can be. If it's
you
not,
really think about it, 20 from that interview last week you did with Philip, 20 is plenty. 20 contacts that you know, 20 contacts you don't know, 20 letters a week or a day. Yeah, 20 letters a day that you could handwrite. Whatever you want to do, 20 is plenty. I love that statement.
well,
And he meant it for his homes, but
he was
or
saying
his
20 people who are professionals who could refer you business that you have
Right.
a relationship with is plenty. And I would say it is, unless it's not, meaning You can have 20 that you think are relationships that are really just acquaintances to them. So you might need 40 to get to 20 or whatever the number is. I think you have to watch your numbers. And if you're not getting enough business, you either need more people or have deeper relationships with the people that you have. Either one's fine, but you got to do one or the other. You can't just say, well, I have 20 relationships, but my business sucks. Like that is an alternative. It's just not a very good, pleasant place to be. I would rather say, Grant Cardone said, hey, if you're not happy with your results and you want 20 or 30% more, it's easier to 10 times your business activities to get the results than it is to increase by 25%. Hence, that's why I do the email program. Then that's when I went to Grant's program, I was doing like a video or two a week. And I was thinking 10 times that, how the hell would I do 10 or 20 videos a week? That seems like an awful lot. Like, what would I do? And today, there are days I do 10. No, I don't do 10. I do 1 or 2, and my assistants cut it into 4 or 5 pieces, and I have couples this and that and whatever else.
Yeah.
But I do 10, I'd certainly do 10 or 20 a week. I mean, every week I do way more than that now. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
well, it's working for me. I think the key is if it was working for you, great. If it's not working for you, then you got to do more or do better.
You're
Who's
not the prettiest
bobblehead?
guy either, Bill, so you look good on video. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Me either.
Dave, if
It
I
doesn't
look like
matter.
you, if I look like you, I would do more TV. I'm telling you, I would really be out there and
I'm
meeting
your younger
people.
self.
I should
Just kidding.
move over to radio here sometime shortly. Okay,
Me
who's
too.
got questions, comments, challenges, problems, victories? I'm closing today. I'm waiting for recording verification. $1.6 million commercial. That's another thing I want to say that probate has opened for me as I look back. Is I was a residential agent, and I was a very smart guy and a top agent in my company. And I never forget my broker at a large Century 21 didn't let us do commercial. We had to refer it to the approved commercial agents in the office for a referral fee. And they never really took it seriously because to them it was just a referral. It wasn't their client. And so I never was happy with that process. He wouldn't let us do land because he said it was so complicated because he had a bad agent and he got sued once because the agent made a mistake. But I got to tell you, in the last couple of years, I've made a couple $100,000 a year in non-residential business that came to me because I was a probate agent, not because I prospected land or I prospected commercial, but the same attorney who had given me residential said, do you do commercial? And I'd taken some classes, and I'm lucky to XP we have those classes, and maybe your local real estate board has those classes, or maybe you have a friend who can help you. But I said yes. And I've sold retail, industrial, commercial, a lot of land. And I'll tell you this, done a really good job for my clients because I'm a great agent. And frankly, the commercial land business is way easier than residential, way easier. After I did a couple, I was just so disgusted with my former broker to realize what a liar he was. He was just using us to generate business to these agents to keep them happy. So I would urge all of you to learn the mechanics and the compliance and the procedures of selling non-residential property. Because if you're in probate, my experience is estates have a mixture of stuff, and you want to do as much of that. And as I said to the attorney, the commercial part of the real estate is pretty easy. I advertise on the LoopNet and we'll get enough activity. But I'm a great negotiator. I'm great on contracts. And I know the probate business. And I've really saved my customers a lot of money as a result. Okay, there's my soapbox on learning commercial as well. Good time of year to do that. There's some free commercial classes or YouTubes or whatever. Learn how to do some additional product so you can be more effective. I will share with you guys, since nobody's hands up, one of the greatest business books ever written is called In Search of Excellence. It was by McKinsey company consultant. And the goal was to research the best American companies and look for the common practices. And all the companies he picked were publicly traded because their information was public. We added in one, but anyhow, publicly traded companies, including, for example, McDonald's. Now, this is back in 1980. And the reason why he said McDonald's was so successful is at that time, they had a very limited menu. At that time in 1980, they only had hamburgers, cheeseburgers, Big Macs, quarter pounder, fries, shakes, Cokes, apple pies, filet of fish. They had like 15 products. Now, McDonald's now, you drive by the board, there's 10 million products. They had to add more products to keep their customers satisfied. I think as real estate agents, we also need to. And I'm not suggesting that you should become a commercial agent. I'm suggesting all of us residential agents who have happy past customers, our customers own businesses that own a retail building, that own a commercial building, that own an office building. Why should we not be the ones to sell that rather than a commercial or retail agent, which in my experience, they're not nearly as good as me. They're just not nearly as good an agent as I am. They don't do as many transactions and they don't know the process as well. The book was called In Search of Excellence. And it was really one of the top business books at that time, and really was kind of a big text by Tom Peters. I would say that I think the thoughts on it are dated. They were appropriate in 1980 and probably not appropriate today. So you have to make sure you read it with that in mind. But the idea of looking for the common, consistent things about somebody and what makes them successful was, I think, right on target. But In Search of Excellence was the book. Okay, wow, time went fast here. 47 minutes after. Anybody have a question you want to raise? Problem you have? Success you want to report? I'm so excited to close this commercial property. Again, this is a great attorney. I sold a residential house to years ago. And then he called me out of the blue, do you do commercial? And I did a CMA. In my area, while I don't belong to LoopNet or CoStar, all the sales are public record. And I just pulled the CMA off of that. And that got the ball rolling. And here we are closing finally. Any other questions, comments? We can wrap up.
I've got a scenario for you real quick. Am I coming through? Cool. So I had one of my business partners who's not a real estate agent. He's actually a contractor that I work with, and he proposed. I mentioned that I'm getting into the probate space, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome!" Because I mean, obviously, great for him because he works on houses for people to get them ready to put on the market. And he's like, when you're talking to, to probate attorneys, you can tell them that you've got a business partner who can give them totally legally, totally above board, can give them a referral fee. And I was just kind of curious in your experience, or anyone else who wants to chime in, whether that is that a pretty, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a pretty cool opportunity to legally and ethically provide an attorney fee for transactions that I do with this partner. Is that something that you feel like would be pretty powerful as far as having that, or is that something that you think a lot of fellow realtors have access to as well?
Well, how do you uniquely have access to that?
I guess it's just that he's a partner that I don't think there's a lot of, at least in my market, there's not a lot of agents that have someone who can partner with partner with the seller, flip the home, and then share the proceeds with the seller. So it's like one of my USPs for probate, especially since a lot of home probate type homes need work done to them to get their highest and best. And if I partner with this contractor on a probate deal that I receive from attorney, he can legally, because he's not licensed, he's obviously not an attorney, he's not a licensed realtor, he can give the referral fee to the attorney, so that I don't have to, I guess, does that make sense?
He's paying referral fee on his profits on the flip to the attorney?
That's essentially what it comes down to, yes.
Wow. So I'm at the spectrum of that idea. I'm at the other end of the spectrum. That is something I would never do for two reasons.
Okay.
Number one, just like I would never pay a referral fee to attorney for my fees, they can accept it, or fiduciary, or in the same way I wouldn't take a referral fee from a lender, or when I was a lender, pay it to a realtor. I only want to work with people who value my service so much that they would feel inappropriate to cut my commission. Right? I'm worth every penny of what I charge. To be honest, I have colleagues and people my downline, or people I share listings with, or bring into some of my listings, who are, you only charge 5%. Why you charge 6%? I don't know. I feel good about it. I make enough money, and Could I charge? Certainly there are cases I charge more when appropriate. But in general, I want people to feel like they're really getting a good deal. I want them to feel like they're really getting good value. And if the only reason why is they're getting a referral fee, well, then any idiot can compete with me by just offering a larger referral fee, right? You see in different real estate marketing, some agents are offered 25% referral, there's some 30, 35, 40, 45. Well, at what point are you just an idiot? You're giving away too much money to do the job properly. I don't know. And so I'd rather not compete on that. And I'd rather compete on, I'm really great at what I do. If you need great, let's get together. If you don't need great and you can use average and you just want a referral fee, there's 100,000 realtors in Southern California. Pick one. They'll all give you a referral fee. On the flips, again, I'm at the end of the spectrum on that argument. Having worked with so many investors who flip property, the three things every investor tells me they flip a property is they overpaid, it cost them too much, and they got less than they thought they would. When the market was jumping up, everybody was a genius. But now, if the market's flat, you have to actually add real value to net that money out. I don't believe you can flip a property at retail prices and make that work to most estates. They can't go to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy their stuff even with a 5% rebate credit card to compete with a contractor who buys a bunch of wood and a bunch of concrete, a bunch of this, and has guys working 2 or 3 jobs. It's hard to, I don't think you can compete and make money. There's an illusion that you're making money, but I don't think you really are. When the market went up, it looked like they made money doing that program. When the market flattened out, a lot of those people lost money. But the properties also, most people aren't suitable to invest like that, in my experience. So unless the customer is uniquely a real estate investor who does fix and flips, even most fix and flippers wouldn't pay that price for that house. Only one will, the one you get in escrow. So in general, I would say it's probably not, I know there are companies who specialize, and that's their value proposition. We're going to help you flip your property and make a profit on it. I see them from time to time, and I just feel like somehow I don't think they're creating real value for the customer. I think it's a great marketing pitch that's not real. And from where I sit as a professional. Now, I'm in LA, I'm not in San Diego. I'm in Metro Los Angeles, I'm not in La Jolla, San Diego. So I don't want to pretend that I know everything there's about probate across the country. I'm just saying, if you're going to recommend somebody to take their $500,000 or $1 million house and invest 50, 100,000 or more in 6 months or longer to rehab a property, you better have a pretty clear path for them to make a profit. Otherwise, I feel like you're probably misleading them just as a sales gimmick. You have to be really careful with that, I think.
Yeah, and fortunately, this value proposition is far better than the example that you gave. But yeah, I guess I understand what you're saying, kind of being like a race to the bottom. If all you're doing, if your value add is a referral fee, then yeah, you're just not coming at them with the right value.
And then I see contractors will say, yeah, but because I'm a professional, I can get it cheaper. But then they charge, management fees on the job to where really the project is being charged full retail. They're making their pay by charging the project. And so unless you're sharp enough to watch those numbers and figure it out, it turns out to be a good deal for the contractor, always. It may or may not turn out to be a good deal for the estate because they also have the time value of money and the risk while they're doing all this. So again, I'm sure there's limited examples. You might have one where there's contractors who are the exception, but in general, for those on the call, mindful we're talking to an audience of a couple hundred people, in general, that process doesn't work that well. That said, if you're the exception, good for you. And if I was exception, I would tell everybody about it all day long and make that my value proposition.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I am that exception. I was just really asking kind of like that. Has anyone seen luck with that, or is that even quote unquote the right thing to do? That's kind of why I threw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I watch in my market. I literally track every probate listing in our MLS, every new listing, every change in price, every closing. They all come to me every day. I go through them and who the listing agent is and what their strategy is in that property. And there are a couple of people who focused on that business and did real well when the market was red hot, and are really struggling right now. I'm not struggling right now, because I didn't focus on that. I think that's a tough pitch. I think a lot of estates got burned in the last year or two on that. And the attorneys also are very sensitive to, because they want to get, the attorneys get paid typically till the probate distributes at the end. And so if you're doing it in the probate, that's just going to delay the process. Now, if you're distributing the property through probate, and then after the probate, the heir is now flipping the property, that's a different scenario. The problem with that is the heirs get greedy and they want to pay way below market price. And if there's other heirs in it, they're kind of cheating those other heirs. I see that all the time. If you're the sole heir and you inherit a property that you're not living in, why not flip it? It sounds like fun. I think that's a different scenario. Okay. And Joe, you're with Whistle. You're down in San Diego with EXP? Oh, good. Very nice.
That's right.
Man.
We're neighbors.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Last chance here. Somebody asked me where I advertise. I will say I'm in Los Angeles. So one thing that's unique about LA is we have an MLS that has a very active non-residential market. And unlike other areas, unlike the San Gabriel Valley, which is just maybe an hour outside of LA where I used to work, most non-residential properties are listed in the MLS in the commercial section: land, multifamily properties, commercial, and retail. So for me, I offer to my clients the advantage, unlike that commercial agent at CBRE or LaSalle or wherever, who is not a member of the MLS because they're too cheap. I can put it in the MLS and in CoStar LoopNet. I advertise the listings in CoStar LoopNet. Anybody, you have to be a member, you can just pay and advertise your listings. And it's a nice full-featured product that you get when you advertise with them. My customers get more, and it's amazing to me how much more attention we get in the MLS than on LoopNet. Now, that's true in Los Angeles. That may not be true in your market. I'm just suggesting do the research in your market, find out how business is really done, and don't overlook the MLS. If they have a commercial section, check it out, and you might find, like I did, that it becomes my comparative advantage, not a disadvantage to commercial agents. Okay, so that answers that question. I think we're up against the hour. I think I've covered all the questions. If there's more questions, feel free to reach out to me, text, email, or whatever. I'm always glad to talk to you guys. And just to wrap up real quick, this is Probate Mastery. And we do this, is probatemastery.com is the website. And there's a variety of paths you can go on to build your real estate business as an investor or realtor in probate. There's basics. If you want to get certified, I've done that. And courses, I've done a bunch of the courses as well. So click on there, find out more. I'd love to have you join. Facebook group, continue the conversation. Oh, that's funny, my Facebook's blowing up here. Sorry, guys. Join the conversation at Estate Professionals Mastermind, 7,000 members across the country. You can ask questions, a great place if you have customer service issues, post your own probate-related content, look for referrals. I'm Bill Gross. I host probateweekly.com. You can join my Zoom call live. It's more of an interview format. I interview vendors and attorneys. Probateweekly.com. You can see the past episodes, episodes.probateweekly. And then I have a Facebook group, Probate Weekly. Continue the conversation there. Post your probate-related information. And then you can find more information about me on Linktree. linktr.ee/Bill Gross has all the different programs I'm working on there. So again, if I can help after hours, call, text, email. It's been a pleasure. Richard, thanks. Joel, nice meeting you as well. And the rest of you, Dave Pennell, always a pleasure. Sabina, thanks for your input. And everybody else, thank you for participating. Make it a great week. We'll see you next week.